This podcast series is brought to you by Elekanyani Ndlovu. For more details, visit elenndlovu.com.
My name is Elekanyani Ndlovu and welcome to Womanifesto. Womanifesto is where we tell, share and own our stories. As I was sharing my stories and listening to the women that joined me in conversation to share their stories, I felt challenged to stay committed to the daily work of being a better version of me. In turn, I challenged you to reflect and to think about you and what you want for you, for your life, so that you can use that as the base for your choices. What crossed my mind is that it's nice that I am on this very fulfilling journey of accepting the daily work of being the better me each day. It's nice that I have found a rhythm and a routine that carries me and lets me show up for me most days. But I didn't always show up, and I didn't always want to because I was just tired. I was just tired of everything. You know that feeling when you're tired of everything, really everything, and then it gets worse when you get tired of being tired. But as women, we get tired and exhausted and then get used to the fatigue and just live with it like it's okay or it's normal or like we don't have a choice in the matter. I remember when I still worked as a project engineer, I used to drive for about 400 kilometers a day to site and back, 3 times a week, and I would do this for months. I remember that I would feel so tired in the beginning and that I would stop at a garage and nap for a while and then continue the drive. But as time went by, I forgot that it's tiring. I would take like normal hourly breaks and carry on driving, get to site, work, drive back, and get home, and life would carry on. It wasn't until I changed roles that I realized that just because I was not acknowledging it, it didn't mean that my body was not taking strain, and it didn't mean that I wasn't tired. I was tired, and my whole back was knotted, and I had a constant tension on my shoulders and my neck, which I just didn't acknowledge or stopped acknowledging at some point. A few weeks into my new role, I woke up one morning and I was like, something feels different. I feel different. And the feeling that I was feeling was actually the lightness of my shoulders. Because I had not been driving for a while, the tension on my shoulders had subsided and I could feel the difference. I was amazed at the difference and I realized just how much strain I had put my body under and just how tired I was. And as I was processing it, I was like, it explained the irritability because there were just periods in my life where I was highly irritable. If you are tired all the time, you can't do much, let alone do you. I know these days we say things like, I am doing me and you should do you, and do you is the thing we say. We say it almost as if doing you is an automated process, but it's not. Being takes energy and focus, and so does doing you. So doing you is a daily commitment to do the work on you, whatever that looks like for you. Living the life you want, the life you dream of, requires energy and a constant focus and discipline. But you can't do that when you are tired. When I reflected on where we are as Womanifesto, I realized that up to this point, Womanifesto has been asking you to do you, to do the true, real you that shows up for you and the people around you in a way that only you can show up and in a way that you want to show up. But what if you are just tired and not in a space to be your best and your most innovative self? I felt that we should acknowledge that being tired being exhausted is a reality for many of us. And to say that if that's where you are in your life, you are not alone. I believe that once we acknowledge that reality, we can then start talking about how do we move beyond that phase, because only then can you have the energy to even start processing you and what you want. There are many things that drain us both physically and mentally, and these are the things that everyone experiences at some point. And this is above and beyond other societal barriers that leave us feeling tired and helpless. As women, we find ourselves carrying several loads, not simply by virtue of what we do, but because of who we are and the way our ideas, experiences, and labor are undervalued and overlooked, resulting in us pushing ourselves to unhealthy limits. We often do this without the necessary support or resources to sustain a healthy lifestyle professionally and personally. And this can leave us feeling exhausted, unmotivated, and even incapable. The truth is that we do not live disjointed lives. Everything is connected. And if we are feeling drained and unwell in one area, it impacts other areas of interest and participation. October is my birthday month, and a while back when I started thinking about taking better care of myself and taking care of my health and my well-being, I decided that I will use October to do the general things, the general checkup, the pap smear, and whatever else crosses my mind is something that I need to check on, and gift myself for my birthday the gift of wellness and the gift of taking care of myself. I'm not very good at celebrating birthdays. It's probably a function of growing up with 6 siblings and one working parent who didn't necessarily do an extremely high-paying job, and therefore birthdays were an expense that we just never really entertained. And I think from that perspective, a celebration, it's nice, and I've grown to accept it, and I have friends who celebrate so well and so beautifully, and I'm really learning, and that's an area of growth for me. But the one thing I had really had a conversation with self about was to say that at least I should take the time out to check that I'm okay and I'm well. I don't get it right every year, but I do use that month for things like that. And it also just so happened that October is Emotional Wellness Month and Mental Health Awareness Month. And it just gave me an even greater conviction that this month, or for a few episodes of Womanifesto, I want us to look at how we think about our wellness holistically as women, not just our professional well-being, but wellness at its core relating to physical, mental, and spiritual health. The way we tend to ourselves, our needs, really directly impacts the way we are able to engage with the world. And for many women, the resources to take care of themselves and be well and look after their health are not accessible due to economic and mobility constraints. So I want us to really think about what it is we can do to be well, to not be tired, and to not be exhausted all the time. It's not okay to be exhausted all the time. You may be in one of 3 states. 1, you're probably strained and you are just not acknowledging it, or you stopped acknowledging it. You are so used to the exhaustion that it's a reality you cope with, and you carry on superwomaning away. 2, you are tired and you know it, either physically or emotionally, but somehow the fatigue feeds your self-worth. So, to feel valued, you keep doing the things that take the life out of you. Or 3, you are tired and are tired of being tired and you know it. I have been all 3 at different stages of my life, and I want us to talk about this. Let's talk about it over the next few episodes. So I challenge you to reflect on where you are. Find yourself in space. Where are you at the moment? Be present with yourself long enough to figure out which tired you are, Of course, if you are not tired, that's great. And please do share your stories of how you got out of the funk so that we can share tools and ways we can try to respond to this reality. I would also like you to reflect on the reality that for many women, resources to deal with their physical and emotional health are not accessible due to economic and mobility constraints. So if you have the accessibility, you have a bigger set of tools to work with and to change your reality. It's not okay to be exhausted all the time, and you can do something about it. In the next weeks, we will continue the conversation and talk about my own journey and figuring out a healthy lifestyle that keeps you healthy physically, emotionally, mentally, and spiritually. We will talk about physical and mental health and how they're interconnected and how they impact our lives. We will talk about unhealthy, unsustainable work environments and habits, high pressure, minimal support, toxic environments. We will talk about what lack of rest does and what lack of time out does to you. Lack of emotional support from your circle. Also, sometimes you're just tired because you are bored and you lack stimulation. You're just feeling stuck, unmotivated, and underutilized in your space or in your field. We will talk about that. We will talk about general health decline, eating and exercising patterns, and unpack toxic societal expectations of women. We will talk about child rearing and what that can do for your energy levels. And we'll talk about the effects of depression. And we can talk about some of the tools that you can consider. I will share my personal experience, where I think I have grown, where I have struggled, and what I'm actively working on. And we can face this reality together. Because to show up and to do you, you can't be tired. Because doing you is work. I would love to hear from you. Please share your thoughts, ideas, and experiences with me on elendlovu.com or send an email to womanifesto@elendlovu.com. Until next week, thank you and God bless.